Welcome to the Puncher's Chance YouTube channel. We're delighted to be joined by the best two promoters in Wales, if I say so myself, Dan Francis and Richie Garner. Dan, we'll start off with you. You got the mic in the hand. How much are you looking forward to this show, especially after that little face-off we did earlier?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant to have this show on for, especially for Richie as well. The amount of time and effort and things that Richie's put into Welsh boxing, and a lot of time it goes unnoticed, but people need to realise that what Richie has put into Welsh boxing is massive. And it's great that he's got this opportunity now to have the first ever female Welsh title fight on it, and it's massive for Welsh sport. This has never happened before. It's happening for our show down in the show down at the Selwyn on August the 17th. And we've got this first ever Gloves Are Off, should we say, then that's happened tonight as well. That's going to be out on Puncher's podcast channel very soon. And we're looking forward to it.
And Richie, for you, that first female Welsh title fight, is that something you've kind of kept tabs on, you've had an idea you wanted to make, or was it an opportunity that came up? What was the catalyst for making that happen?
Well, I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to obviously look after the career early doors of Ashley Johnson, and she trains at a great gym. She's got a good trainer. She's clearly obviously got a good background in MMA, kickboxing, but you could see that the real benefit to her game was her hands, and she's developed so much, and when she spars she looks absolutely fantastic. And her and Victoria, as you've said, and as we saw from the little chat that took place earlier, the Gloves Are Off chat that took place earlier, they've shared a gym, they've shared rounds together sparring, and it's been competitive. And Ashley said early doors that if the opportunity came up and if the weight was right, then she'd love to have that fight. It was floated with Dan. Dan got in touch with Victoria, and she jumped at the chance as well. So what you've got is two very, very enthusiastic girls who clearly both think that they've got the edge. And you couldn't have two more different styles. You couldn't have two more different body shapes. Ashley is quite short, not necessarily for her weight. Victoria is freakishly tall for the weight, but you've got a very, very tall, rangy fighter against somebody who essentially rolls, bobs, weaves, comes forward, and is a much shorter fighter. So we're going to see a clash of styles. We're going to see two girls who obviously both think that they've got the edge over the other, and I think that possibly what you might see is a classic fight. I actually said a long time ago when they were both fighting that they would both steal the show on one of my other shows that I was involved in, and they did. And in fact, it was in Boxing News, that I predicted that, and that absolutely that was the case. They're both incredibly talented girls. They're both girls who come and they leave everything in the ring, and there's no easy fights in women's boxing. Every single fight is a real slugfest. You look at the men's fights, and their first 5, 6, 7 fights, they're all learning fights. They're overcoming different obstacles. If they've got a good manager, they'll be tested in different ways. The girls are tested in every single fight to the max. Everybody comes, everybody tries to win. Ashley's unbeaten, Victoria's not unbeaten, but she does have the edge in terms of the fact that she's got perhaps a little bit more experience, she's got more rounds in. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is it's going to be a fantastic contest, a complete clash of styles, and they've both shown that they can entertain, and they'll do that again.
And Dan, Richie said obviously there was no real drawback from the fighters. They were both keen to make this fight. Were the relevant parties, the Welsh Boxing Board of Control, people like this, was this something people were looking forward to or were receptive to make, or was it a difficult one to get? Obviously that first Welsh female title fight.
No, it wasn't. We put the idea to the board. The board were very receptive straight away. There was no negatives to it. It's massive. It's history making. As you said, it's never been done before. As I've said many times in a few interviews that we've done previously, the only other Welsh female professional really at the moment was Lauren Price, and Lauren Price, when she came in, she was way past regional level. So Ashley and Victoria, it's brilliant that they're at the same weights, because otherwise we may never have seen this for a long time. Because obviously the female pool in professional boxing is quite small, so it's quite rare to get two females at the same weight, and obviously they're from quite close as well. One's from Pontardawe, one's from Swansea. They're only 20 minutes apart. So it's fantastic. And everyone's been receptive to it. It's had a good reception on social media. It's had a good reception. There's a lot of even, I know this is on your channel, but there's even a lot of female media channels that have come on board with it, you know, as well. And it's brilliant to see that they're getting involved with the sport, and, you know, it's just putting different eyes and different bums on seats, you know, for this fight. And I think this fight, as we know, will always go down in history for this show. And it's a pleasure to be a part of it with Richie and everyone else, you know.
I very much appreciate that this had to go before the board. Every time that there's a contest like this, it has to be ratified and it has to be sanctioned. And it went before the board. Obviously, we asked to make the fight, and the board were receptive to it. But I mean, you've got to bear in mind that if this was two guys, then perhaps it might not be made because of their relative inexperience. But as I've already said, their relative inexperience is outweighed by the fact that they've already been in extremely testing fights and they've already done the rounds. You know, so I'm not suggesting it was an easy decision for the board to make, but certainly you have to take into account the fact that I think Lauren Price was a British champion after 5 fights, whereas in the men's game it would be at least 15 probably before you're fighting for a British title, maybe 20, maybe even 25. You know, certainly a few years ago it was 25. Now maybe it's coming down a little bit, but then, you know, world title, you know, you're looking at 25, 30, 35. Excuse me. Whereas Lauren Price has won it in, I think it is his 7th fight. So, you know, the career trajectory in terms of women fighting for titles is a lot less than men's, and quite simply part of that is because of the aggression involved and the fact that obviously the fights are a lot more contentious, and further to that as well, the fact that whilst women's boxing has taken, you know, massive strides, come on leaps and bounds, and certainly some of the women's boxing is incredible technically. Some of the women are so technically gifted even compared to a lot of the men. You know, there's still, unfortunately, a lack of women involved in boxing. I think with the massive upsurge in people involved in MMA, there's so many females involved in MMA now, you know, and not just MMA, there's different branches of MMA, as we've already said. Ashley and Victoria both come from, you know, K1 backgrounds, kickboxing backgrounds. You know, there's so many females involved now in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, K1, kickboxing, Muay Thai. There's so much diversity that, you know, I mean, previously 80s, 90s, these were unheralded sports, but now they're universally recognised. Everybody's getting involved in MMA, and certainly boxing suffered as a result. But what we are seeing, though, in women's boxing is an incredible leap in terms of the technical ability and the talent that they're displaying. I mean, when you look at the women's world level competition, it's absolutely incredible. There's some incredible fights out there, and certainly in the UK there are so many incredible women's fighters, and they really are inspiring people. And what we're seeing is a really a massive talent leap in terms of the way that it's moved on as a sport quickly for women. I genuinely think that boxing is one of the smallest gaps in terms of talent between the men's game and the women's game. I mean, with the greatest respect to the women's football, you look at the American women's team, you know, they got beaten like something like 12-0 or 12-1 by a veterans team from Wrexham, and you know, they were the #1 team in the world. Whereas you look at what people like Katie Taylor are producing in the gym, people at her relevant weight, you know, are producing in the gym, and the technical ability is incredible. You know, the talent gap is really, really small between the men's and the women's game. And they're entertaining at such a high level. You know, there's so much value for money. And, you know, I mean, we've seen our first, more recently, all-women's card. And, you know, it's just absolutely incredible what these girls come and produce on the night.
Well, that's a beyond phenomenal answer to a very simple question. I really appreciate that. Dan, for the rest of the card, there's obviously more than just the one Welsh female title fight on there. There's, you know, the homecoming for Angelo with the Stallion ABC behind you there. JD Cuervo making his debut. You know, there's a lot of top fighters on this card. Let us know about the rest of the card, why people should get their hands on those last few tickets.
You know, this card is stacked from top to bottom. You know, we've had a few pullouts, we've had a few fights that have fallen off. You know, we had a potential another title fight that didn't happen. We had 2 top cruiserweights on there that unfortunately due to a cut that's come off. But you know, we've still got JD Cuervo. You know, he's managed by Joe Cordina and Ethan. He's coming on. We got James Todd, you know, he's coming back after being on the road. You know, we've got Angelo Dragone, he's coming back, you know, for a homecoming fight after winning the Welsh title. You know, 3 times for a Welshman, as they say, and he's done it. You know, and that's massive for Angelo. And we're in his gym now, and it's amazing what he's got coming. This facility is fantastic. So anybody around Llanelli, you know, come down, check this facility out as well. It's absolutely brilliant. You know, we've got Levi Griffiths. You know, first time he's ever making his. He's fighting in home as a professional. You know, we got Lewis Parfitt. You know, everyone's seen Lewis's first fight down in Sanaga show. You know, and everyone was raving about that fight as well. You know, you know, and then we've got the two girls as well that are fighting as well on the top of the show as well. You know, and this card is stacked from top to bottom. You know, we've got another Welsh champion on there, and Conor Mcintosh. You know, he's up against Owen Durden, and you know, and Owen was a ticket seller. You know, he was a prospect. You know, and he was raring to go. But it's just a fantastic card from top to bottom. You know, and it's great to be involved with it. And you know, and hopefully it's going to give the fans 8 solid fights on the night. And we've got 8 tough fights for these fighters, you know, and hopefully the fans will have value for their money on the night, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've got two fighters on the undercard who are both current Welsh champions in the shape of Conor Mcintosh and, of course, Angelo Dragone. And can I just say, whilst we're talking about it, what an incredible fight he had with Jake Tinkler and how proud I was to be a part of his journey. Angelo contacted me some time ago, you know, decent amateur fighter with tons of potential in terms of his heart, who starts out training with me, managed by me, and ultimately, you know, I gave him as much time as I could when I had a little bit more time on my hands, and we're training on a regular basis. And his career progression in terms of the way that he was stepped up, I think, was absolutely perfect. And then obviously he was ultimately very, very unlucky against Christian Twos. Put up a great fight when he was having a lot of personal problems against Steve Robinson's son, Jacob, and then, of course, an absolute epic. I really hope it doesn't get lost in the passage of time in terms of the fact that the Boxing Board of Control, the Welsh Awards next year, obviously take place usually in January, and of course this fight happens so early in the year. I'm really hoping it doesn't get eclipsed by the passage of time in terms of potentially for a fight of the year, because I haven't been a part of many fights that were such seesaw back and forth fights. Both fighters absolutely incredible, throwing everything that they could, and to finally see Angelo lift that title was well, it was genuinely one of my greatest achievements so far in boxing. I've had Celtic champions. I had Craig Woodruff fight and get a draw in a British title, which was a great achievement. But nevertheless, to see somebody like Angelo, somebody so humble, somebody, you know, who didn't have a stellar background in the amateurs, somebody who has literally worked his balls off to get where he is, and worked so hard to finally achieve and make his dream a reality. It was incredible to be a part of that, and I'm incredibly proud of that.
Well, we appreciate your time as always. Thank you, obviously, for putting on the show as well, and thank you for helping out with this soon-to-come brilliant content we've got with the talk, as we're calling it, rather than the I'm sure copyrighted alternative that Sky Sports have going. So we look forward to August 17th, and we'll see you then.
Thank you very much, and can I just say thank you very much to Angelo Dragone for letting us use this absolutely fantastic facility today. Stanley Unboxing, get down here. He's got a great programme.